Filtration Administrator here for the Pittsboro Water Plant. I've been with the town. I was with the town before. I started in 2014. I've been here at the water plant since 2015. Became the administrator, I think it was in 2020. So I've been here for about 12 years. I love this plant. I love what I do. I feel like I'm making a difference. I live within the city limits. I drink the same water that you drink. I've lived in Pittsboro all my life, born and raised pretty much, went to Northwood High School. So, you know, whatever I can do for my community, I would love to, and this is what I can do. This is Brian Johnson. He's my bodyguard, just in case things get out of hand, especially with you.
Yeah.
He's new. He's about a month and a half in, I think. So he's learning just like everybody else. I wanted him to be a part of this just so I can take him through everything. And, you know, if you have questions while I'm talking, just let me know. Interrupt me, because I am a chatterbox just like he is. So any questions you have, you know, don't hesitate to stop me. But we can go ahead and get started. If that's okay? Yeah. All right.
How many gallons of water do you push out each month, and how many customers do you serve in Pittsboro?
So customers I serve in Pittsboro, I want to say it's around 7,000. I believe that was the population, I think, on the last, what we got, the census or whatever. What we produce, it depends on the time of the year. So during the summertime, our demand is up. You know, people watering grass, watering their, you know, washing their vehicles and whatnot. We could go up to 1.7 million pulling out of the river and about 1.4 going to the tanks. During the wintertime, it could be as low as 850,000 gallons. So we're not right yet at capacity, but we are getting close. That's why we were waiting for the connection for Sanford, where they're going to be able to provide us, I think, around 3 million gallons a day, something like that. So if something that were to happen and we would have the avenue to go to, that's exactly what he was talking about. Yep, that's it. So where actually it starts is at the Haw River. Right before you go to the bridge, there's a building on your left down the hill. That's our raw building. Our intake, where the water comes in, is before the dam. If you're coming this way off 15501, you can kind of see it off in the distance. So the water comes in, goes through these pipes, goes right into our raw building. We have two raw pumps. We run one every other week. We try to switch them up just to get that maintenance going. So it pumps it up here. Oh, I'm sorry. We actually do have a chemical down there called sodium permanganate, which oxidizes the iron and manganese in the water that comes in. Okay? So once it comes up here, comes right up into this white building that's in between our big carbon building, goes right up there, and then we'll come up here and I'll show you where it starts and we'll start our process. Good morning, Cory. It can hold me, it can hold everybody else.
Hey, when you said raw pump, what exactly does that mean?
So that's so it's a big vertical turbine pump that pumps the water uphill, because it's uphill to here, and it pumps up into this raw building here.
Okay.
Yeah. So we're gonna start. Come on down this way. In this building here, it's pumped right here into this, what we call our flash mix trough. All right, this is the river water with our permanganate in it. It comes in through here, and that's when we start our other chemicals, our caustic, which adjusts our pH. Watch step.
Good job, good job. No casualties on day one.
Also, we feed a carbon slurry. That's for taste and odor and TOC removal, which TOC is total organic carbon. So once it flows down there to our flash mixer right next to that door, that's when we get our coagulants. What our coagulants do is it helps bind all of the dirt and everything that's coming from the river into what we call floc. Okay? So it's spinning, it's a mixer, spinning, mixing all of it up, and it's, you know, the chemical reactions within seconds. So it drops down out of that pipe on this side, comes over here, into our flocculators, what we call our flocculators. Okay? And we got 3 flocculators. This is the first one. This is our process where we create the floc that helps us get all of that stuff that's out of the river settled into these basins. Okay? So see if you can start to see. If you guys come over here, start to see where it's starting to form up, and these little balls, all the dirt and everything starting to form. That's too big for us. All right, that's all the dirt and everything that's in the river. So once it's spinning here, it's going to go to the next one. It's going to spill over into this next area. And this is spinning at a different speed. And it starts to break down to get to the floc. Right here, this is the floc for us. It's little pen floc particles. And that's where it forms here.
And we're not drinking that water yet, right?
I do, but no, I'm just kidding. No, this is really the beginning of the process. This is where everything gets to settle out. All of that, like I said, all that dirt that's coming from the river, it gets settled out into these basins back behind me. So once this process goes here, it spills over into these troughs. And these little valves here, we got them turned at different turns, 2.5, 3.5 turns. Because if we open them all the way up, it's going to short circuit our system, and all that floc's going to go all the way down to the end. So what we do this for is for our detention time. So if you think about it, a drop of water takes from here to the other side about 4.5 hours. So it gets that settling time, that detention time, to where we can get all the way down and it gets clear to where it goes to our filters. So if you guys will just step this way, we can kind of notice there's more in this one because the sun's hitting it. All that floc's kind of forming up. There's valves all the way at the bottom of this basin, and all that floc's coming up to the top. Once you start to see going down the line, you'll start to see it getting clearer. It's getting heavy enough for all that carbon, our coagulants, everything forming those little flocks. It's getting heavy enough where it settles at the bottom. So when it settles at the bottom, we have what we call track backs. All of these have track backs where we run every night. Basically a vacuum cleaner that just goes at the bottom. Starts from one side, goes to the other, and comes back. Usually takes about 20 minutes. All that sludge, all that floc that comes in, we send it out there to that lagoon. For where it settles out, and then we get it pumped, get it sent off to the landfill, or we also do land application as well.
How often do you have to get it pumped?
It's around 3 to 4 months. 3 or 4 months. So right now we just had it pumped not too long ago. A lot of that is clear water, which we will pump off and send it to the clarifier, which all that clear water that we pump off sends it back to the river. That's why we have a NPDES permit where we have to test it every 2 weeks. Test for turbidity, total suspended solids. So we get tested by the state for what we send back, because what we send back is actually cleaner than what comes in. So we have to be sure that we have that NPDES permit, all of our wastewater sampling. We do it every 2 weeks. Yes.
What are some of the main things that you're taking out of the water at this stage?
So at this stage, it's mainly just the dirt you see that's in the river. Inorganics, TOCs, which is total organic carbons.
Okay.
So all that's coming from the river, and we're upstream from, Greensboro's wastewater department, Burlington's wastewater department. So all the stuff that they discharge from there comes to us. Yeah. So that's the problem that we've been occurring. Yes.
So if you have a big rain and the river's up and it's muddy,
I love it.
you love it.
I love it.
Okay.
If it rains hard and that river is high and that is pouring over the dam, it's better for us because at the beginning side where our coagulants, it has more to attach to. It makes it heavier for us. So our coagulants work better. Now, if it's dry the last 2-3 months, it's harder for us because there's nothing for those coagulants to
So
bind.
the water's cleaner coming in.
Exactly. The water's cleaner coming in, so it's harder for us to treat than it is if it's really dirty. So if you see rain, Cory's happy. Cory's happy when that's full.
What
Other than that-
what does heavy rain do to this facility here?
Nothing.
Nothing.
Nothing. Doesn't do nothing here. Yeah.
So what sort of TOC removal do you get across this process?
So the TOC usually comes in, right now we're about at 8.
Milligrams per liter.
Yeah. And right now, once it gets down to this, it's around a 1.5.
Okay, so
Yep.
substantial.
Yep. And then once it gets to the GAC, past the GAC, it's under a 1,
Yeah.
which is great. So that, the GAC not only helps with PFAS, it helps with our DPDs as far as our trihalomethanes, haloacidic acids, HAs, THMs, the byproducts from feeding chlorine. So go ahead.
Yeah. So, Cory, can you define TOCs for us?
Yeah, total organic carbon.
Like, give us some examples of what's actually in the river.
What's actually in the river, like the inorganics, nitrate, nitrites. Are you talking about like something like that, like
No,
iron and
TOC.
manganese, the total organic carbons?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Does
it's-
that include those compounds?
Huh? Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. So I mean, all of those compounds that come into there. You got the iron and manganese, the inorganics as far as you asked the right question. I'm blanking now.
Is it human waste mainly?
No, so like animal waste, human. Yeah. I mean, I don't think so much as human waste because that gets treated
Okay.
at there, and then they discharge it from their wastewater facility. But yeah, not much as human waste, but like the runoffs from the rains and animal
Antigen.
feces and stuff like that. So yeah, so all that gets taken out towards this process. So any more questions so far?
So having a buffer along the river makes total sense to you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Why?
And the water goes through the plant, it's the same rate, even if it's like it is today, or if it's rained and real muddy.
Yeah,
Because
so
it'll take the muddy out quicker, so the process through the plant is the same amount of time,
yeah, we're pumping.
even though the different water coming in.
Yeah, we're pumping 1,200 gallons a minute from the river. The same thing, we're pumping out 1,200 gallons a minute. So we're pumping out 1,200 gallons a minute. It's coming through here. Our filters are working 1,200 gallons a minute. And what we're pumping out, pumping to the GAC is 1,200 gallons a minute and 1,200 gallons a minute out to the system. As far as the buffer from Greensboro to here, just that dilution process, that dilution helps us out, because it's 26 miles, I want to say, something like that, from the discharge from Greensboro to here. So now when it's dry and it's slow, it could take, say, we had a slug. How many years ago we had that last slug?
I think it was 2 or 3 years.
2 years ago. So that's another issue with us is we have to time it. It's so hard to get samples back in a 24-hour period because there's only a handful of laboratories that will test for this stuff, that by the time they get the results and let us know, it could already be here. Now, if they get it in time, we're able to shut down, let the slug class start back up, do intermittent pulling for us. Start up for 2 hours, shut down for 2 hours. Let that slug pass. The last time we did really good and missed all of them. So it's hard for us because it's almost like a guessing game. We don't know the rate of the river. It's hard to judge how fast it's going. Now, if it's rained a lot and the river's flowing, it could be a couple of days. If it's real slow and like it's been for the past 2.5 months, it could be 2 weeks. We just don't know that yet. And that's where it comes down for us is to kind of judge it. And so far we've done a pretty good job of getting those slugs past us.
And Cory, specifically when you're talking about the slugs and the timing and testing and the source from Greensboro or Reedsville or Burlington, what contaminant are you referring to?
1,4-dioxane. Get the 1,4-dioxane.
For the crowd, everybody hearing that? 1,4-dioxane.
Yep, 1,4-dioxane.
And the reason this is important is because the GAC
does not do 1,4-dioxane.
captures a very, very small fraction of the GAC, of the 1,4-dioxane.
And when we don't have a slug, we're non-detect. We're under a 1. And there's maybe 1 or 2 facilities around in the state of North Carolina that can detect below a 1. And the cost, we do it every week. We can do it every day, but the cost is substantial. To test for 1,4-dioxane, or not 1,4-dioxane, for PFAS, it's $2,500 every time we test. So we're doing that once a month now to test the GAC to see where it's coming. Now, if we do that every week, that's $120,000 a year just testing the PFAS, not including 1,4-dioxane testing, DPD testing as far as TOCs, HAAs, THMs. I mean, there's so many things that we have to test for that, cost a lot of money. So we try to determine when we change our GAC out by testing once a month and making sure we got the breakthrough. I'll explain all that when we get out there. But yeah, 1,4-dioxane, it's not an issue unless they discharge it. So we don't have a 1,4-dioxane issue unless it comes down the river, which we test for every week, which Greensboro does pay for testing. They still pay for testing. Mr. Bonez and the commissioners did a great job on going after them and making sure that we're taken care of, and they do pay for our testing for our 1,4-dioxane every week. So, yeah.
And there's no other way for them to get rid of that 1,4-dioxane other than dumping it back in the river?
So I believe right now they're working on with can't remember the company, but they're trying. It's a UV type situation.
Okay.
So UV AOP, which is advanced oxidation through UV, does kill 1,4-dioxane.
Okay.
I believe it's right around, for this plant, I think it was quoted at like $18-19 million just to do that here. Yeah, I mean it's expensive.
So I think that's what all of this comes around to, is remembering that this is a whole cycle, right? It's not just this facility, it's where the source water is coming from and how it's being transported and all that. I think her question earlier was about the TOCs and like, does that include human waste and stuff? And before 1971, the Clean Water Act, yeah, it absolutely did, because we didn't have any regulations on what you were dumping. So you could have dumped that into the water, and it absolutely did. You go back in the history books and you'll see a lot of examples about, problems that were happening in the rivers, and that Clean Water Act over decades was able to help clean out our waterways and our nature. And so that's the same sort of argument we're having now, though. It's about what can you dump, what are the levels you should be able to dump. And so it's all a cycle. If it's cleaner coming out of the river, it's going to be easier for this plant, and it won't cost this plant as much. Now, the cost has to be borne somewhere, whether it's those industries that are creating those discharges or somewhere else. That's the circle.
Have any new laws or things made it be that there's less regulation lately, or it's still the same?
So the EPA has come out with standards regulating PFAS. Mm-hmm. I'm not quite sure right now if it's about 1,4-dioxane, but the state has to get on board as well to be able to enforce those. That's the issue. The state, it's not enforced. So technically we don't have to do that, but we do because it's a problem. It's the right thing to do. So John Bonez and the board did a great job when we first did our pilot study. We did GAC, UVAOP, RO, ion exchange. I mean, we did a lot of testing, and we felt like GAC was better for us because the problem with RO, it's it takes out a lot of stuff, but you have to waste 15% of it and send it back to the river. So basically, we're taking the problem coming in here and we're sending it back. So I think that was the determining factor on where to go to GAC, where we can get it destroyed and burn through, and we can get fresh GAC in every time we come in, and they take it off and deal with it. So, and I think that was a great decision.
I'm glad we're dwelling on this, and I'll pause for a little bit longer to dwell on it further. It's not on Cory to say these things. I'm the elected official, so I'm going to stand for scrutiny, right? What he's referring to is the fact that the town of Pittsboro sued the upstream polluter, Apollo Chemical, in Burlington because of their release, knowing that it exceeded these EPA limits.
The water's good and they stay alive. All right. So right here, once it gets past through the basins, comes into our filters here. We got 4 filters, 2 in here, two out there, or two in there and two out here. I'm not sure why that was built that way. I believe it just started adding on after the two were inside. They work the same. There's not a difference. It's a multimedia filter. We got sand, anthracite, and gravel. You know, and it starts in here, comes into these troughs, and shoots down, and that's right about 250 to 300 gallons a minute. We do have to take these out of service and wash them. Everything goes to the lagoon or to the clarified or settled out before we send the clear water out. But the ways we know when to wash these filters are turbidity, which is the cloudiness of the water. Loss of head is how dirty it is and how compacted it is. In hours. We usually stick around 100 to 114 hours. It just depends on the time of year. During the winter time, everything is more dense and it's harder for it to settle. So we get limited access or limited time to here, usually 30 to 40 hours here. During the summertime, it can go up to 115, 114 hours, something like that. So we lavish in the heat because it helps our filters out. During the cold times, and we're washing filters every day, which it's wasted water, basically, just to wash.
You use the finished water for backwash?
So we use it's treated, but it's not finished water. Yeah, it's downstairs. I'll explain that when we get to the backwash pumps. But we can go inside and I'll show you the panels.
And this is running 24/7, right?
No, these are not running 24/7. We start at 4:30 in the morning and usually run, depends, during the summertime, 12:30 a.m. Or during the winter time, we shut down at like 9 o'clock. So it's not running 24/7 yet. So we're not at capacity, so we're still shutting down every night. Come on inside.